The Man with the Steel Cane by Auden Austin Sheffer. 1. The gun in his hand was simply a tool, but a perfectly crafted one. Gold type was inlaid into the blackish green metal. It spelled the smith's name. This detail spoke of its creator's pride and confidence. It was not a Piltovan weapon, those gaudy things that attempted to function with the minuscule amounts of magic available in those lands. This gun was made by a true forge master, magic pulsed from its bronze Ionian heart. He wiped the gun's stock a fourth time. He couldn't be sure it was clean until he wiped it down 4 times. Didn't matter that he hadn't used it. Didn't matter that he was only going to stow it in the bag under the bed. He couldn't put it away until he was sure it was clean. And he couldn't be sure it was clean until he had it wiped it down 4 times. It was getting clean though. 4 times makes it clean. It was clean and it was wonderful. His new patrons had been generous. But did the finest painters not deserve the finest brushes? The scale and precision of the new device made his previous work with blades seem insignificant by comparison. Understanding firearm mechanics had taken him weeks of study, but evolving his key techniques from blades has taken months. The gun held 4 shots. Each bullet had been infused with magical energy. Each bullet was as perfect as Lassilan's monk's blade. Each bullet was the paint from which his art would flow. Each bullet was a masterpiece. It didn't just cut apart the body, it rearranged it. The rehearsal of the mill town had already shown the gun's potential, and his new employers had been pleased with the work's reception. He had finished polishing it, but with the gun in his right hand, the temptation was too great. He knew he shouldn't, but he unpacked the black eel-scale bodysuit. He drew the fingertips of his left hand across the slick surface of the clothes. The feel of the skin's oily surface quickened his breath. He picked up the tight leather mask, then, unable to help himself, slid it over his face. It covered his right eye and mouth. It constricted his breathing and removed his depth perception. Delightful. He was putting on the shoulder armor when the bells he had hidden on the steps leading up to his room sounded. He quickly folded up the weapon and removed the mask. "Hello?" the maid asked through the door. The tilt in her voice hinted to an upbringing far south of his town. "You did what I asked?" he said. "Yes, sir. A white lantern every 4 yards. A red lantern every 16. "Then I can begin," Khada Jhin said as he swung open the door to his room. The woman's eyes widened as he exited his room. Jhin was well aware of how he looked. Normally, it elicited pangs of self-conscious loathing, but today was a performance day. Today, Khada Jhin cut a slender, elegant figure as he walked out with a cane. He was hunched, and his cloak seemed to cover some huge deformity on his shoulder. But a jaunty stride belied this. He forcefully tapped the cane ahead of him as he marched toward the window. He tapped the frame rhythmically, 3 beats, then a 4th. His gold sparkled, his cream cloak flowed, and his jewels glittered in the sun. "What? What is that?" the maid asked, indicating Jin's shoulder. Jin paused for a moment to study the woman's cherubic face. It was round and perfectly symmetrical, a dual and predictable design. Removed, it would make a terrible mask. "It's for the crescendo, my darling," Khada Jhin said. From the inn's window, he had a clear view of the rest of the town in the valley below him. This performance had to be wonderful, but there was still so much work to do. The council men would be returning this evening, and so far, all of Jin's plans for tonight seemed uninspired. "I brought some flowers for your room," the woman said, walking past him. He could have used someone else to place the lanterns, but he didn't. He could have changed clothes before opening his door, but he didn't. Now she had seen Khada Jhin in his finery. The inspiration he needed was so obvious now, so preordained. There was never a choice. There was no escaping the art. He would have to make this maid's face more interesting.